Communication is a tricky thing. You might be saying one thing with a certain point, but the listener hears something completely different.
Similarly, you may say one thing, but mean something else. This is one of the intricacies of language that is built into the system, but we may not think about. This is something that is particularly bad in some classrooms, especially if the speaker has an accent or English is not their first language. But this is doubly worse in online classes where students are required to guess the meaning just based on the simple words without context. Occasionally in my household, I will come home and find that my wife is extremely displeased and upset, slamming things around the house and otherwise acting passive-aggressively. When I ask what is the issue, she'll tell me the answer is nothing. Nothing is wrong at all. Which is a certain clue to me that something is very, very wrong. Now, there was a time in our relationship where my wife told me that she would never lie and that everything she said could be taken literally. And when she told me nothing was wrong, I acted like nothing was wrong. You can imagine that was a terrible disaster in the making. This can happen in your classrooms as well. These kinds of crossed wires in the classroom or in inter-office relationships can be tricky. So as you begin giving your lecture, look for those physical signs and that body language. Similarly, if you're trying to work through a problem with a coworker, take a look at those as well. Are they sitting with their arms and legs crossed? Are they facing away from you? These are very simple ways to see that something may be wrong. Similarly, everything about them may physically point to, yes, I am ready to learn, or yes, let's proceed, but the opposite is true. They may be looking at you, or during your lecture, you may hear the repeated clickings of someone on a computer. This is terrible. Not only does it stop you from being able to do your work, that person is clearly not listening. You may have software in your computer labs that allows you to turn off internet access or stop certain sites from coming. If that's true, I heavily suggest that you should use that software early and often. However, if that's something that you're not interested in, or students need to be taking notes in different ways, that may not be an option that's open and available to you. So what should you do if you see this? You're doing your thing. You're trying to work a problem out with a coworker, or you're trying to give materials to your classroom, and people in there are sighing, rolling their eyes, checking their emails, physically giving you the signals that something is very wrong. Now, I myself am personally, I do this a lot. Or what will happen is I am busy working and I know I need to check my email, and a coworker will come in and we'll start talking, and at a gap in the conversation, I will turn around and put my hands on the keyboard and check my email, or I will begin writing while I'm talking to them. And this is difficult to parse through for some people. So in some cases, I really am in the middle of something, and in other cases, I don't have time for what we're working on. I got to be honest about that. Now, when they're giving you the signals that they haven't bought into the lecture portion of your class, or they're supposed to be sitting there working out who's going to take over what classes, but physically and mentally they're not there, you can go on with your presentation, letting the students know that, there are 25 of you in here, 32 students in your classroom, and you're going to give the lecture for the 10 people who are paying attention, and the 25 people who are not can sit back and wait. And that kind of wastes a lot of time for everybody. Or you can make a choice to deal with it. When you see that, go ahead and make a note of it. Bill, are you listening to this lecture? They may come out and say no, or they may be like, oh, and quietly put things away. Or they may say, Tyler, am I stopping you from doing something right now? But don't try to offer any solutions when you are working that out. For instance, you may find that if you say something like, Ryan, if you keep that up, I'm going to have to give you a tardy for today's classes. Or if you need to check your email, why don't you go step out into the hallway? Chances are very likely you won't see these students again. They'll be gone. So, and if you try to offer a signal right away to someone who seems a bit out of sorts, you're going to find, you're going to find that a confrontation may occur. So try to avoid that. If they're already giving you the signals that there's a problem or something's wrong, go ahead and ask some open-ended questions and give them the opportunity to tell you what's wrong. Try to examine what the problem is. It may be the first time that you've met somebody and they're coming into your office to try to get some help. And if that does happen to be the case, noting right off the bat that something's wrong and then trying to give a solution on how to fix it may make you seem like these are things you want to avoid. Consider some open-ended questions such as, is this a good time to discuss this if you're talking with one of your coworkers? Or, it seems like earlier you were ready to make a change, but now it seems like maybe something is stopping you. If you're dealing with a classroom situation, sometimes just kind of noting that if you need to leave for the day, this is a good time for you to go. Or, I hope you're not counting on your buddies to have all your notes for you. Or something along the lines of, this time out of every class is really set aside for lecture, and when I'm up here talking, it would be a nice idea if you were available to catch those notes. At this point, you can answer any concerns that people might have and either continue on with your discussions, or if it's in a classroom setting, if there's some consistent issues, this might be a good time to step outside with the student and just say, hey, I'm not sure if something's wrong, but you seem to really be distracting a couple of students in that classroom. Is there something that I should be aware of? Or if you have a chance to talk to that student during a break time, that's great. If you have a chance outside of break time where you might just want to talk with them after class and let them know that is not behavior that you value and you don't want to see that anymore, or just kind of make it known to them. Probably the most important thing to do is just to kind of treat the whole situation with respect, but try to be open about respect from all angles. It's a good way to kind of broach that subject. Many students feel, because of their millennial nature, that being in the classroom is the same as having a good understanding. And many of them feel like being in the classroom is the same as being the best student in the classroom. And unfortunately, a very large portion of them feel that if they paid for their entrance into the classroom, then they paid for a good grade. And so you may just want to let the student know that every minute that classroom is disrupted is a minute that 24 students, or however many you have, fail to learn. And that means that almost every time I have to spend a minute on you, that means about a half an hour of class time is taken away from our entire class. It's expensive stuff. So, just kind of get them on point with the fact that just because you paid for this class doesn't mean you get to come in here and take up space. If you don't want to be in the class, don't come. You can drop this class at any time. You come back at a time when you are excited and motivated to learn. Now, I understand you can't be Superman. You can't be Superman every single day. But if you find yourself in a situation where you're just not able to concentrate, you may want to go and take a break. Find out whatever it is that you do need to get that concentration on. Go have a glass of water occasionally. Go buy a cup of coffee on campus. Get out and march around. Go and use the bathroom. Something, anything to keep yourself on point. In addition to looking to the nonverbal cues that a student may be giving you about whether they're not excited, like looking away, trying to check their email, constantly getting distracted, sketching or jotting down materials, look for the positive body language. Are they smiling? Are they nodding their head while you talk? Are they following you as you move around the room? What is it about their behavior that is also positive? Can you encourage those students who are doing positively? Can you encourage the students who are doing positively and encourage the students who are doing negatively by calling on them or otherwise trying to engage them and bring them back into the fold of the classroom? One of the important things to consider in a classroom lecture situation is that when you are teaching the student, there is an unsaid communication. And the unsaid communication is fairly easy to follow. It is that you are giving the student practical knowledge which they can use. Is it knowledge that will help them on a test? Is it knowledge that will help them in the field? If it is neither one of these things, if it is merely enrichment, that's not good. If you have material that will encourage them to do better, that's great. If it is material that lays the groundwork for some larger concept to come, that is important. But enrichment activities may not have a place in each and every classroom. So consider how that material may be utilized. Now, earlier on we discussed how written communications do not have a physical component and people have to guess what you mean. This is particularly bad in an online classroom. So how can you tell in an online classroom that your students are becoming engaged? It's difficult to find out, I'll be honest. To apply this knowledge today, in your next lecture or interaction with one of your coworkers, watch the physical and non-verbal communication that is occurring. Also, listen to any visible, any audio communication that is happening. Is there a way that they're saying, what am I doing in this lane? Is there a way that they're saying things that is bringing the point across? Are they saying or doing things that are positive or negative to show you that they are engaged? Afterwards, write a list down of all the things that you have seen that were positive physical notations and negative physical notations. What is it that you could tell in the way that they spoke or the way that they listened that clued you in that they were getting what you were laying down? That guy is a jerk. Get on the highway or don't. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this podcast, unless you were that man who just tried to cut me off and then slowed down on the freeway. Go ahead and comment, subscribe, share, and by all means, blow up that like button. This is Tyler Dockery, and please design your future.